Have you ever wondered what really happens when a father loses everything? What if the man the world calls a monster was once just a dad, broken by pain? This is the story of Manuel Torres Félix, also known as LM1, a powerful name in Mexico's cartel world. But before he was feared, he was a father, and when his young son was killed, something inside him changed forever. What followed wasn't just revenge, it was a storm of blood, fear, and heartbreak. What made this man go from a leader to a killer with no limits? How did one death shake an entire city? And what can we learn from the human side of this dark world? This episode takes you deep into the life of LM1, not to praise him, but to understand him. Behind the drugs, the guns, and the headlines, there was a man, and his pain left a mark that Mexico will never forget. If you want to hear more real stories from the hidden world of cartels, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the Narco Files, and turn on the bell so you never miss an episode. A tragedy that changed everything. It was a regular day in Culiacán, Sinaloa. Antonio Torres Acosta, just 20 years old, was walking with his little sister Alondra and their aunt Divas Heredia. They were near a health ministry building in the Montebello area. Nothing seemed wrong. But suddenly, a car stopped near them. Armed men jumped out. They were hitmen from the Beltrán Leyva Cartel. They came for Antonio. They tried to kidnap him. But he didn't give up. He fought back. Then the gunmen opened fire. Antonio was shot and died on the spot. Alondra, only 4, was shot in the arm and shoulder. Their aunt was hit in the leg. The killers ran away. Later, police found their car. Inside was an AK-47 and a note. The note said, "On behalf of your friend and his nephew." It was a message for Antonio's father, Manuel Torres Félix, known as LM1, and it shattered him. The early life of LM1. Manuel Torres Félix, later known as LM1, was born on February 28, 1958, in Cosala, Sinaloa, Mexico. He grew up in a place where drugs, guns, and crime were part of daily life. His older brother, Javier Torres Félix, known as LJT, was already deep in the drug world. Javier worked with El Mayo Zambada, one of the biggest drug lords in Mexico. Manuel grew up watching all of this. It was the world around him. As he got older, he joined the cartel too. By the 1990s, Manuel had moved up. He wasn't just a small player anymore. People trusted him. He had real power, taking over the family role. In January 2004, everything changed for Manuel. His brother Javier was arrested in San Miguel by Mexican authorities and later sent to the U.S. for drug charges. With Javier gone, Manuel had to take on more responsibility. He was put in charge of moving cocaine from South America into parts of Mexico like Chiapas and Oaxaca, very important routes for the cartel. To do this, he worked closely with Ovidio Guzman Lopez, one of El Chapo's sons. This made LM1 more powerful, but also gave him more enemies. Trouble with the Beltrán Leyva Cartel. For years, the Sinaloa Cartel and the Beltrán Leyva group worked as one team. They shared the same goal, to control the drug business in Mexico. The Beltrán Leyva brothers, Alfredo, Arturo, Carlos, and Hector, even helped El Chapo escape from prison in 2001. But over time, things changed. The Bello wanted more power. By 2008, the friendship ended. Greed took over and they turned on their old allies. People started saying Bielo is now working with Los Zetas, a brutal cartel. If true, that could destroy the Sinaloa Cartel. Meanwhile, the Beltrán Leyva brothers were showing off, going to celebrity parties, taking pictures with politicians, and living in the spotlight. El Chapo didn't like that. So, to save his son Ivan Archivaldo from prison, he made a deal with the Mexican military and gave them Alfredo Beltrán Leyva's location. The BLO saw this as betrayal. They believed El Chapo had snitched, and they wanted revenge. The war begins. The Beltrán Leyva group didn't wait. They hit back fast and hard. First, they killed El Chapo's 22-year-old son in public, Around 20 gunmen were involved. It was brutal. Then came more violence, a wave of killings. Over 100 people died, including 24 police officers. And then they went after LM1's son, Antonio. This wasn't just about killing him. It was a message, a warning to LM1. And he got the message loud and clear. From father to monster. After Antonio was killed, something changed in LM1. He was no longer just a drug boss, he was a father filled with pain and anger. He didn't care about rules anymore. All he wanted was revenge. He told his men not to kill members of the BLO or Los Zetas right away. He wanted them alive so he could do it himself. At his ranch, known as El Ranchito, LM1 tortured and killed many men. One of them was Police Commander Roberto Carlos Barcelo Villagran. What happened to him was so cruel it shocked everyone. His body was left in a car trunk for people to find. LM1 didn't stop. People started calling him El Ondeado, which means the crazy one. Each new killing made him more feared. His enemies' bodies were found all over Culiacán. Everyone was scared. Fear was everywhere. A city under siege. Culiacán turned into a living nightmare. The streets were full of blood. People were killed every day. Things got so bad that in late 2008, the Mexican government sent 2,000 soldiers to try to stop the violence. But LM1 was hard to find. He didn't leave his area much. He stayed close to home. He was careful and smart. Any enemy caught was taken straight to his ranch, his own place for revenge. Even with all the chaos, LM1 still worked with El Mayo to run parts of the Sinaloa Cartel. He was still in power. But deep down, he had become something else, angry, broken, and ready to explode at any moment. The fall begins. In September 2008, the police raided one of LM1's hiding places. Inside, they found guns, drugs, and even an armored car. But the biggest discovery was a photo. LM1 standing with his nephew, Manuel Torres, known as LM2. That photo was shared with the public. Now everyone knew what LM1 looked like. The manhunt grew stronger. In 2011, the US government added LM1 to its foreign narcotics kingpin list. That meant he was now one of the most wanted men in the world. There were only two ways off that list, either prison or death. But LM1 didn't care. He had already lost the person he loved the most, his son. He wasn't afraid to die anymore. The end of LM1. On October 13, 2012, in Oso Viejo, Culiacán, LM1 was moving with his bodyguards in a convoy. But the Mexican Special Forces were ready. They had been watching him and blocked all roads. There was no way out. LM1 jumped out and ran toward the hills, trying to escape. But it was too late. The soldiers opened fire. He was shot 6 times, once in the stomach, once in the leg, and 4 times in the chest. He died there on the ground. His body was taken away. Later, he was buried beside his son, Antonio, the son whose death had pushed him over the edge. Aftermath of his death. LM1's death shook the Sinaloa Cartel. He was violent, but his power kept many enemies away. Now that he was gone, the cartel had to find a new way to stay strong. The Mexican army sent more soldiers into the area. Just a few days after El Mayo 1 died, banners were seen across Culiacán. They blamed El Mayo, saying he had betrayed El Mayo 1 and helped set him up to be killed. Sinaloa needed a new leader, so El Chapo came back to take charge. He quickly started attacking the Beltrán Leyva group, BLO. BLO tried to fight back by teaming up with Los Zetas, but it wasn't enough. After Arturo Beltrán Leyva was killed, BLO started falling apart. Their power faded, and the war began to shift. Where things stand today. Even after losing big leaders like El Mem1, El Mejo, who is still hiding, and El Chapo, locked up in a U.S. prison, the Sinaloa Cartel is still very active. They continue to move large amounts of drugs and remain the strongest cartel in Mexico. LM1 is gone, but his story is not just about crime. It's about deep pain. It started with a father's broken heart and turned into a storm of violence across a whole city. Even today, the damage he left behind is still felt. A reflection. Elmo's story is not just about drugs or power. It's really a story about love, loss, and revenge. He wasn't born a killer. He became one after losing the person he loved most, his son. But instead of choosing to heal, he chose hate. And that hate hurt many people. Not just the ones he wanted to punish, but also many innocent lives. In the world of cartels, pain never stops. One killing leads to another, the cycle goes on and on. As long as greed and power rule the streets, stories like LM1's will keep happening. Let this story be a warning, not something to admire. Because there is nothing brave or good in violence, only sadness and the silent pain of those left behind. The story of LM1 is not easy to tell, and not easy to hear. It's full of pain, violence, and loss. But behind all the bloodshed was a man, a father, who was broken by grief. He grew up in the world of crime. But what truly turned him into a killer was the murder of his son. And in that we see something deeper. When pain is not faced, when the system fails people, what kind of person does it create? What would you do if someone took the person you loved most? Is there ever a way to stop this cycle of revenge? Or does pain just keep passing from one person to the next? We're not telling this story to make LM1 a hero. We're telling it to show the truth, because these are real lives, real losses, and real consequences. If you want to hear more honest stories like this, hit that like button, subscribe to the Narco Files, and turn on the bell so you never miss a story that matters. Till next time, stay aware, stay human.